And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Okay, flying weather for Sunday morning. We've got that strong low moving up to the northeast here toward the western Seward Peninsula. That pushing the front with a band of IFR inland here into the Kuskokwim Valley, back up there in toward Kotzebue, and then back down into the northern Bering Sea here. And along that front, IFR to Kodiak Island, on up into the southern Kenai Peninsula, western Prince William Sound, to the east and to the north, VFR. And to the south here, southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians, mostly VFR into the Alaska Peninsula. VFR for the southeast coast holds right through the afternoon down that way. IFR here, Prince William Sound there, in toward Resurrection Bay and over toward Cordova, southward. And improving there, Kodiak Island, especially Fognak Island, northern Chillicothe Strait that extends into the Kuskokwim Valley now, Bristol Bay, VFR there. IFR along the Central Alaska Range, IFR southern slopes of the Brooks Range, but north side there, southerly flow, making VFR flying conditions right out to the Arctic coast. Some IFR here for the southern Seward Peninsula, marginal VFR into the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta area there, and into the northern Bering Sea. Aleutians, VFR. From about Shimianatu there, a little bit of marginal conditions there, but good flying weather right up in toward Bristol, into Bristol Bay and across. And then for the Monday morning map here showing IFR still along and south of the Brooks Range, up into the northwest interior and the coast, up to the western central Arctic coast, VFR for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. Lots of IFR here in the Gulf of Alaska, right up into the southeastern Copper River Basin, south central Alaska, especially Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula, and Cook Inlet into the Susitna Valley and the Talkeetnas. IFR. And IFR now creeping into the far northern southeast coast with VFR conditions on down to the south. Not too bad out to the west. Areas of marginal VFR covering much of the Bering Sea right on up to the Seward Peninsula. And then some areas of IFR from Atka Island into the Alaska Peninsula. For the afternoon, pretty much the same pattern out here to the west with areas of IFR now for the central eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, VFR Kodiak Island, improving here for Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley, surrounded by an area of IFR here, Talkeetnas, Alaska Range in this area, and also the Wrangell Mountains looking at some IFR. IFR, still southern slopes of the now central and western Brooks Range out to the DeLong Mountains. Marginal VFR covering all the western interior, actually into the central interior as well, with VFR for the north slope out to the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And IFR continuing to increase a little bit here. You can see from the morning hours some of this moisture sliding onto the north coast there, and marginal VFR into the central inside waters, but actually about the southern half of the Panhandle stays VFR right through Monday afternoon. For passes, Anaktuvik and Adigan, look for IFR flying conditions with the lowest conditions here on the southern approach of both passes, and then VFR out the north side. Lake Clark and Merrill starting out low in the morning, becoming VFR in the afternoon, and rainy IFR gradually becoming marginal VFR. Rainy, look for IFR throughout the day. Same forecast for Isabel, IFR flying for Sunday. Mentasta, marginal VFR with bare conditions out the north entrance, and Tanita, marginal VFR. And Portage looks to be mostly IFR for the day Sunday, and Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels here with that low pressure area tracking up in toward the western Seward Peninsula. Colder air coming down behind that system, 2,000 to 4,000 feet out here over the Bering Sea, but that southerly flow and tropical moisture, and that bringing 12,000 foot freezing levels right up into the western Alaska Range, 10,000 feet even farther, and then that kind of cuts off there at the Brooks Range with 2,000 feet. And colder air with northerly flow out here over the Yukon and Northwest Territories, pulling 2,000 feet down into the northern Panhandle, 4,000 feet closer to Prince of Wales Island. And for the icing chart, Look for, again, the moisture sliding up to the northeast here, so considerable moderate icing for the Bering Strait, western Seward Peninsula, Noatak Valley, northwest coast into about Selawik and Kotzebue, and the western Arctic coast, and just some areas of isolated moderate rime or mixed turbulence for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, maybe Adak and Atka. And then with that moisture sliding eastward here, look for considerable moderate Gulf of Alaska up into the southern Cobb River Basin. And for the jet stream here, quite a ridge here, right in this area, right up over Yakutat, the ridge axis. Northerly flow shifting eastward here up to 140 knots now over western Canada, and then strong southwest flow, this low tracking up towards St. Lawrence Island at 33,000 feet, 160 knot winds blowing right into the southwest interior, and at 9,000 feet, strong low pressure at this elevation tracks up to near Point Hope and Cape Lisburne. Very strong southwest winds here over the northwest part of the state up to the eastern Brooks Range area, 80 to 85 knots through here. This next system, only 40 knots for the central and eastern Aleutian areas, and 40 to 50 knot winds out of the southwest across southern Alaska. 3,000 foot wind flow chart showing very strong winds for 3,000 feet up to 70 knots out of the southwest here, coming across the southern Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound, and into the west central interior, dropping back to about 45 knots there for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and then a band of 35 to 40 knot southwesterlies here all the way out to the central Aleutians, and then a weaker system bringing a narrow band of 50 knot winds along the North Gulf Coast in toward Prince William Sound. So with those stronger winds, throw some considerable moderate turbulence into that area, Montague Island and over toward Cordova, Cape St. Elias, those areas. Otherwise, the big area here, isolated severe turbulence with that strong low pressure area tracking up toward the western Seward Peninsula here. Surface is 6,000 feet here from, say, the Noatak Valley into the Kobuk Valley, right on down into the Yukon Delta.